All right, everyone. Well, I wanted to welcome you to our third webinar of this series on nonverbal communication, which is our theme for this month. As you know, we have themes every month in our community, and also the challenge that will be related to that. I'm going to be announcing that later today in the community. So I'm very excited about that as well, and I hope you are too. Today, we are looking at how to command the room with, our body language and our tone of voice and, all the other things that make up communication in addition to the words we utter, right? So this is what we mean by commanding the room, presence, power, influence, right? If you're in a leadership role or you're looking to be in a leadership role, definitely listen up, take notes, watch the replay. And for those of you who are, hoping to have that experience too, this is going to be relevant to you as well. So let's get started with my PowerPoint that I have here for you. And I want to remind you to use the interactive chat because that's a great way to interact with each other and with the materials that I'm going to be sharing with you here today. Of course, you always have access to the recordings as well. But one of the advantages of joining live here in the community is that you get to interact. We are live. We are on here online at the same time, which is so cool because we're all in different time zones, right? So that's one of my favorite things about being able to do what we do here. All right. Well, with that being said, with that little introduction, I think we're ready to jump in. And, this is something that will take some time, right? Just as anything, just like you go to the gym and your strength training, you might be working on your cardiorespiratory fitness. Those things take time as well, right? Any new skill, any skill that you're planning to level up on or to develop or to improve will take time. But that's a beautiful thing because the fact that it takes time shows that we're putting the work and effort into it and the consistency that will pay dividends over time. And that those changes are more lasting as opposed to these fleeting types of little changes. These are lasting changes. All right, so just a little background about me, a little intro as to who I am. I'm Mary Daphne. I am CEO and co-founder of Explearning Academy and Advanced English, and I am head of community here in Explearning Academy. My mission is to empower you with communication skills, to teach you how to become more confident so that any type of interaction you have, be it professional interactions at work or the casual interactions that you have with friends and family and acquaintances, you are going to be so confident that you go into them with the right mindset, with the right communication strategy so that you can get the right outcomes. We talk a lot about social fluency here in the Academy. Those are ways to help you to become more confident, to become more socially fluent, to become less socially awkward or anxious. And it's very important if we want to succeed in our careers and also if we want to have stronger interpersonal relationships and make more friends and have close-knit bonds with people and build our network and all the things that make it fun to be alive and to be a human, right? Those connections that we have with people, to feel that closeness with each other, to be able to talk to anyone about anything and have those experiences, right? So in terms of my background, I have about 2 decades of experience in international communications, corporate communications, television, broadcasting. I've got 2 master's degrees from Columbia University in New York City and then Bachiller University. I have 16 plus years of teaching communication and English and French and cross-cultural skills and social skills. And I always like focusing and leveraging technology and data-backed methods. I also like to mention that I got a Fulbright grant after graduating from college, which originally took me out to overseas. I was placed in Turkey, somewhere on the Black Sea coast in a town called Samsun. And it was an amazing experience. And that was my first foray into cross-cultural, intercultural communications in a professional capacity. And I've been doing, cross-cultural and intercultural communication as well ever since. So you'll notice that in the community, we often talk about, navigating various cultures. How do you interact with people from all over the world? How do you find that common thread with people? These are all very important things, particularly for our, our global society and our ever increasing global society, where we really do need to make an effort to understand people that are from various cultures than what we're used to or from our own. So all of it comes down to communication. I also teach teachers how to teach. So I'm a teacher trainer as well. And I've done this both abroad and in New York City as well. So that's just a little bit about me so that, you know that. Let's talk about presence. So what is presence? Well, you can think of it as how well or how easily you're able to command attention, command respect without even saying a single word. Just think about that for a moment, right? Can you think of anybody in your own life or any famous person you might know where they have so much presence? It just oozes from their pores and you can feel it. You can sense it. Like if somebody walks on stage, they don't say anything and you just feel their presence. They have that ability to command attention from people. And the crowd goes silent, right? There might be, they might be a musician or a singer or performer, and the whole arena filled with thousands and thousands of people just go silent because they're mesmerized, they're captivated by this person that has so much presence, right? So what is it? You can think of it as a mix of posture, eye contact, composure, energy levels, right? Like the vibe you're putting out into the world, a sense of self-assurance, self-confidence, right? And why is this so important? Well, because believe it or not, it influences how people think about you, how they perceive your competence, how they can perceive your leadership potential, your overall potential, and your overall impact. So it's, if you want to be taken seriously at what you do or in your friend group, or you want people to, value your opinions. And even if you're in a social setting and you're making a suggestion about the next venue for your friend group to have a dinner out, you want to be taken seriously. You want people to be persuaded by your opinion, but your thought about where you should go, right? So even in that low stakes, just casual situation, casual friend group environment, it's important. We want to have presence. We want to have that ability to persuade people, right? And then in the work setting, in an interview setting, in a meeting with your boss or with potential clients that you're trying to land or close a deal, it's even more high stakes and even more important to make sure that your presence is on point, okay? So I just want to emphasize that presence is not about being loud and rambunctious and overly ebullient, right? It's actually an internal state, okay? Internally, that projects outwardly. In other words, it's something that you have within you that when you tap into, you can access and project out onto others so that they feel it too. Okay. So just like I said, when a pop star or favorite musician walks on stage, you can feel that presence, right? Now, juxtapose that, contrast that with somebody who walks into a meeting, hunched over, like crossed arms, not making eye contact, maybe talking with like bated breath and, not really taking a breath to formulate words, right? Compare those two images, right? Which one has presence, which one doesn't? So we certainly want to aim for that, you know, whoever you imagine, you know, performing well on stage or in front of a big audience or virtually, or, you know, your favorite performer or public speaker or YouTuber or whatever, what kind of presence do they have? And is there a way that you can kind of draw from that, emulate it, and then turn it into something that's more authentic to you, right? There's nothing wrong with taking inspiration from others that we admire, practicing it, trying it on for size, and then having it fit us the way we want it to fit our personas, our characteristics, our personality, right? So there's nothing wrong with practicing, trying something on for size, as I like to say. Okay. That's very nice of you, Fabian, to say. Thank you so much. Yeah, the Fulbright definitely was amazing, for sure. So, okay, let's do a little visualization here. This is the feeling small visualization. So I know we're all behind a screen, so I don't know whether you are actually closing your eyes or not, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, and I want you to close your eyes for this, okay? And I want you, well, we're going to go on a short little mental journey for this, and I want you now, okay, to imagine a situation where you need to be confident. It could be a presentation. It could be an interview. It could be a difficult conversation. It could be a negotiation for a raise. Whatever kind of situation where you really need to tap into your full confidence. Now, I want you to picture yourself feeling nervous, right? Feel the nerves, right, in your body. Feel that coursing through your veins. Not the most comfortable of sensations, but we all feel it. We all go through that nervous feeling at times. Now, your shoulders are hunched, your eyes are downcast, okay, in this visualization. And you take up as little space as possible. You try to make yourself as small, as tiny, as almost invisible as possible. Notice those feelings of uncertainty, maybe even a little bit of fear. What does that feel like? How is your body responding? What is going through your mind right now? Have you experienced this recently? Okay, now I want you to gently open your eyes. Okay. So what did that help? What did that make you feel like? What kinds of sensations were going through your body and your mind? Did you feel those feelings of, you know, being nervous or being uncomfortable in a social situation, be it at work or just in life? What was that visualization like? Visualization is a very powerful technique, and we can use it in various types of settings depending on what goal we're trying to achieve. It's great for fear setting. It's great for boosting confidence. It's great for getting in the zone. It's great for thinking, okay, what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst case scenario to what's the best case scenario that you can possibly think of? So let's share some thoughts here. So Fabian says a bit anxious, sweaty hands, a bit of butterflies in the stomach. Yeah, in the belly. Very good. Isn't that incredible? Just by evoking those feelings, we can actually feel that in our body. There's that psychosomatic response. So interesting. So very interesting. I want you to hold on to that feeling because we are going to do something with that at the end. And we'll see, you know, what happens with that. So very good. Very good. You know, if you've been in this situation before, you're not alone. We've all, like I said, we've all had scenarios where we feel like we want to just disappear, right? We want to like fade into the wall, or, you know, just like close close our eyes. And like when, you know, little kids, you might play hide and seek with little kids, and they think that just going like this makes them invisible to others, right? It's like, if only we could just do that and no one else, you know, sees that, what we're going through at that time, right? Bill says, I imagine possible journeys to control my anxiety. Very good. Absolutely. Absolutely. So very good. Very good. We're going to do more with that in just a moment, but let's keep going here. So I want to present you with a presence toolkit. Okay. So think of these as strategies that you can start using and implementing right away. So the power posture, what does that mean? What is that? It's, you know, your shoulders are back, your chin is up, you're in a relaxed state. So you're not like tensely holding yourself up as if you were wearing like some armor or a really like corset, you know, a tight corset or something. You know, you're not fidgeting, you're not slouching, you're not hunched over, your gaze is not downward. It's this positive, open posture, right? So very important. The other thing that we have with that is eye contact. You want, especially in the American context, Canada too, this is also relevant for that location as well, geographically. You want to meet people's gaze because it shows that you respect them. It shows that you're confident. It shows that you're engaged. It shows that you are focused on what they're saying, on what the conversation is, you know, how it's progressing, what you're talking about. So eye contact. But again, there's a balance. So you don't want to just be staring at them the whole time. It's okay to look elsewhere as well. Just balance it out. And then have the grounded stance. So what you want to do is put your feet slightly apart. And ideally, you don't have them in the same like line of like the same line, but instead you want to stagger. Because if you're not staggered, then you might start to shift your weight back and forth. It's kind of like sometimes we do this when we're nervous, and it's a very soothing thing. It's kind of like, you know, when you were rocking in a little baby, what are they called? Bassinets, right? It's like that soothing, or like on a swing, right? There's this back and forth motion side to side that kind of soothes us. It's a self-soothing thing that we do if we're nervous, but it's distracting for people. So it's much better to ground yourself, put one foot slightly in front of the other, right or left, it doesn't matter. And that will help ground you, right? And that actually helps with the weight distribution as well as not shaking and moving from side to side. Even though it's a nice feeling, I do agree with that. But again, if we're wanting to convey confidence, show presence, show, you know, our power, then we have to think about, okay, is this distracting for people? Is my moving back and forth like this? Can you imagine if I did the webinar this whole time like this? It might be fun for me, but it's not that fun for you, right? So again, we got to think about the other people. Now, I want you to realize that, you know, this is not about faking it. This is not about faking or feigning confidence. We actually want to start to feel confident and exude confidence so that that is what we put out into the world and that people recognize that in us, right? So it's not about, you know, faking it until you make it. It's about feeling it, not faking it at all. It's about feeling it, and let your actions help with that state of mind. So in other words, do the things that you know will make you feel confident, and then you will start feeling confident. Okay, so there's no faking it involved. Find that inner strength, let it shine through. Okay, and you can even strike a power pose. So a power pose is like any type of pose. It makes you feel powerful. So this one's like a famous one. I actually really like this one. It's the Wonder Woman pose. No wonder. Yeah, I think Wonder Woman's amazing. So that's a Wonder Woman pose. You can do that. You can do like you can make up your own, whatever, you know, pose makes you feel strong and confident. Do that for a couple of seconds before you walk into a high tense, a high stress, high risk situation, like a job interview or a negotiation meeting, or anything like that where you're a little bit nervous, do that for a couple of seconds, breathe, and then walk into the room. It'll make a huge, huge difference. Take my word for it. Okay. So like I said, these are these expansive postures. Your arms are open, your chest is out and up, which allows for better breathing, right? Imagine like already if you're nervous, your breath is going to be a little bit more shallow, right? So if you're hunched over and you're closing up on yourself, you don't really have that much space to breathe, right? So we always want to think about opening so that we can do the diaphragmatic breathing, the connection breath, so that we can really make sure that the oxygen is flowing through us. And, you know, there is research that supports that this can help lower cortisol levels, right? The stress hormone, the fight or flight response. And that also helps reduce your stress, boost your confidence. So you actually feel confident. You're not faking confidence. Okay, so do this before you walk into any kind of high stress or nerve-wracking situation. I promise it will make a huge difference. Okay, so when we think about space, you know, this is part of nonverbal communication too. Every culture will have a different treatment of physical space and distance between people. And the space that you take up in a room. Okay, proxemics and physical distance. That's what we call it in communication. So don't ever apologize for taking up space or like shrink, you know, into just like hide, right? And shrink. No, you want to claim your space, claim your chair, claim the stage. What does that mean? Walk around. Don't just like sit in a corner. Or if you're at a party, don't go into the corner and try to hide. Or just stand next to the, you know, food table and maybe like hide under it. Like you might be thinking, who's going to hide under it? There are people who would want to hide under a table, right? Because of that social anxiety is so pernicious and so strong in their mind that they can't help but want to hide, right? I'm sure several of us have been in situations where we feel like we just, you know, want to do this and disappear for a moment, right? So take up space. Think about a strategic way of using your space, right? So when you lean in, you're showing interest. When you're leaning back, you show disinterest. You're not engaged. In negotiations and in professional settings, you don't want to get too close to people, right? You want to have that healthy distance because it shows I'm the authority figure here. I'm confident with myself. I have this space. This is my personal space here, right? So again, in different cultures, it's going to be different, but this is from the American lingoculture lens, okay? So things to think about, right? And you can imagine, right, that this is also very much tied to any type of social situation as well, right? How you manage your space at a party will show how comfortable, how confident, how uneasy or uncomfortable you might be. And if you're wanting to meet people and make friends and, you know, introduce yourself and build your network or just, you know, make friends, have fun, you don't want to be that person afraid to take up space or, you know, trying to hide under the table or disappear into the corner somewhere, right? You don't want to do that. Because it's antithetical to your goals, right? And then if you're thinking about what about gestures and movement, do those things with purpose. So if we're like really jittery, you know, if like I have a pencil or a pen in my hand and I'm just constantly doing this, right? Again, it might feel good to you. It might feel self-soothing, but it's actually making you more nervous because this is a nervous kind of like behavior. And it's also distracting for the other person. So if I'm doing this the whole time, are you going to pay attention? Oops, you can fling it somewhere by mistake to what I'm saying and how I'm saying it. Or are you paying attention to my pencil, right? So again, avoid things that are going to make you more nervous and jittery and anxious and present that kind of, you know, energy to people. Instead, you want to be pointed about your movements, your hand gestures, using them, but not overdoing them. Finding balance with everything, balance. Make it measured. Do it during between points. Pause for emphasis. Pace in the right way, as opposed to like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? Again, because how we do something is going to show how confident or how nervous we are. And not just for people, but also for our own brains to register, okay, am I actually nervous? Actually, I'm not that nervous because I'm not behaving like I'm nervous. So those pre-stage jitters, those pre-performance jitters that I was feeling disappeared, right? You could think of it that way, right? Because now you're checking back in with yourself, that intrapersonal communication dialogue that we have, you're checking back in, you're like, oh, I'm actually not nervous anymore. It's amazing, right? So again, we're not faking anything. We're actually feeling it, and it is becoming that thing. We are becoming the confidence. Let's look at another kind of situation. You can think of presentations and negotiations, making a pitch, mirroring, matching. We did this in our feedback session and executive coaching session last week. So for those of you in the community, you can watch the replay for that. And, it's very important to find that alignment, to find that congruence between not just what you say and how you say it, right? So nonverbal and verbal, paralanguage and language, but also what you're saying and what the other person is saying. So aligning your posture and your energy with the audience, vibing with the audience, vibing with the people that you're discussing something with. This helps build trust. It helps create rapport. It helps strengthen the bond, create that connection, leave a lasting impression, form a positive first impression. Okay. Thinking about our gestures, open palms, that shows honesty. It's like, I think what I remember reading about and hearing was that back in like the times where people would walk around with like, knives and weapons and things because they were hunting and protecting themselves, right? This is years and years and eons ago. They would have to show, right? That's part of what the handshake does. It shows I don't have anything in my hands. I'm not a threat. You can trust me. I'm honest, right? We can shake hands. There's nothing in there. There's no knife or anything. So it shows that, you have nothing to hide. Steepled fingers, you're thinking. It could be up or down, right? You might see people like in meetings like, okay, we really need to think about this carefully. How are we going to boost our numbers in Q3? Pointing for impact. It's not the most polite thing to do to point like this, but you can do like a point like this. This is like the revised version, a point like this. You might see like politicians do this, other authority figures. Pausing is always great. It helps you with reducing fillers and drawing focus onto what you're about to say or what you've just said. So it's giving people that moment to take in what you just said, okay, process the information, and also gives you some thinking time as well so that you can really set your next sentence up for success and say it the way you want to say it. We don't want to think about, being a robot. Robots are great. I think robots are awesome, but we're human, right? So just like, robots can never really truly be human, at least not in our current world. Maybe later, who knows? Sci-fi, anybody? But, we're not trying to be robotic either. We want to be natural. This is our human condition, right? We're not robotic. That doesn't necessarily create that closeness that we want with people. If we're, robotic, it would be a bit jarring. Now, you just want to think about, okay, how am I aligning? How am I mirroring? How am I emphasizing? What is my pausing doing? How are my nonverbal and verbal in alignment? Okay. All right. So with that, let us do our second visualization. Now, this is going to help you tap into commanding the room. Okay. So you'll contrast that with the other one that we did earlier in this webinar. And this time we are setting ourselves up and envisioning success. Okay, so I'd like you to close your eyes again. Okay, so picture that same situation that you were in, that challenging conversation, that high stakes social setting, that interview, the client pitch, the public speaking event, the talk with your boss, a difficult conversation, okay, whatever it might be. And this time you're standing tall, you have positive, open posture, you meet the eyes of your audience or of your interlocutors, the people that you're talking with. You feel grounded through your feet. You feel strong and powerful. When you speak, your voice is clear. Your gestures have purpose. And you start to notice how the room is responding to you. Their focus on you, their respect for you, their admiration for what you do and what you say. Okay, now open your eyes. All right, so quite a bit of a shift, right? How did that visualization compare to the first visualization? What are some of your experiences with that? Isn't it incredible how the power of our mind to shift our mindset, to shift our perception is so strong? And just by thinking it, we can feel it, we can do it, we can change a feeling. It's remarkable. That is part of your toolkit, right? That is part of your presence toolkit. So very different feeling, right? I want you to think about these as you go about your day and your week, and think about, which one do you want to visualize? You might think it's an easy answer, but if you think about it, a lot of people catastrophize and think about the worst that can happen, and what if they mess up? What if they say the wrong thing? What if they stumble over their words? What if they start shaking in public? What if this and that? And what if the sky falls? Right? That is endless. That's catastrophizing. And as you're doing that, you're telling yourself, you're telling your body, you're telling your communication that it's going to not go the way you want it to go. So instead of doing that, do the positive visualization, the positive self-talk, feeling that confidence, thinking that confidence. And even when we don't feel confident or, act confident, if we start to get into the right mindset, we will become more confident and speak with more confidence. It comes down to what mindset are you going into that situation with. We're going to do some more mindset work in future get-togethers like this and in the community. So if that's your jam, we have more in store. So yes, I'm excited to present those to you when the time comes. All right, my friends. So we talked a lot about presence, about posture, about confidence, how we can leverage nonverbal cues to our advantage, thinking about these visualization exercises to really get us to focus in on how we want to feel as opposed to how we don't want to feel, right? And I really want to encourage you to practice these strategies. You now have an amazing toolkit. You got to practice, right? Practice consciously, meaning mindfully, with effort, thinking about it, with practicing your presence and influence in every type of social interaction you encounter, be it at work or with your friends or with your family. Try it on for size, right? That's the only way we will find how it feels for us and how we can tweak certain things to fit our situation, to fit our lives, to fit our authenticity. And I want you in the next, few encounters you have this week or later today, pay attention to how people are behaving. Do they have strong presence? If so, what are some of the things that you like that they're doing? What are you going to emulate? What might you try on for size yourself? Right? And then I want you to share that in the comments down below. Okay, so share those. You'll see in the replay, there's going to be a comment section. Write down what you've noticed from your observations so we can keep the conversation going. What you might have taken note on, somebody else might have totally overlooked. What you might have overlooked, somebody else might have, thought about it meticulously for hours. So that's the benefit of a community of practice. There's so much learning that takes place, not just from me to you, but to you, to each other. I learn also where there's always a learning process for all of us. So if you want to know more about our amazing community and academy, you can join us at academy.explearning.co. Check out our landing page. There's a lot of great information there. You can read member testimonials, so see what members have to say, how much they're enjoying and loving our community, what our plans we have, what makes us different, why you should join, and more. So thank you so much, everybody. You've been wonderful. Thank you for taking the time to, invest in yourself, to work on the skills that are super important, that are going to help you get ahead in life and in your careers. And by getting ahead, I don't just mean, the stereotypical version of success, dream job, dream home, dream whatever. Those could be your definition of success, but it's so much more than that, right? It's how well do you feel in your own skin? Anytime you do anything, how confident do you feel? How many close friends do you have that you can truly rely on and, call up whenever you need to, right? How much happiness do you have in your life? What do your social connections look like, right? So it's all these things. And communication allows us to have connection, allows us to have community. And these are things that nourish and nurture our soul. So yes, the career, of course, communication is going to get you there. And a lot of what we do in the community is executive skills, right? This is a professional development platform. So of course you're going to get that. We have our 33-day executive excellence challenge designed for that. And a lot of professionals are taking that course, have taken that course. Executives have taken that course. So it's a phenomenal course. And again, that's the executive side, but we also do the other type of work too, the mindset shift, the interpersonal communication, the intrapersonal communication, the self-talk, the social fluency aspect. So all of it combined is what's going to get you to achieve all of your goals. So thank you so much to all of you. You've been amazing. I can't wait to see you in our next webinar. And for those of you who are in our executive group coaching program, we are going to have a coaching session and feedback session this Wednesday. So great to see you. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Fabian. Thank you all to have participated. I see Ruby, Anderson, Jamal, Elkin. Wonderful, wonderful seeing you all here. And I will see you very soon. All right. Take care. Bye, everybody.